Okay, so this is my first fly tying video. We're going to see how it goes. And I'm going to tie a green scud. So I'm tying it on a size 14 caddis curved hook, so that gives it a nice shape to the body. And I am using an olive green thread. I would normally do this with a darker green, but I don't have one, and make sure your hook is actually firmly in your vise before you start. So I just tie on the thread at the back, because a lot of this we're just going to end up moving everything forward where we'll tie it all off. And do it all the way down the curve, because the scud body is pretty curved and you want to really get all your materials into that natural curve. And then since this is a wet fly and they are pretty deep, and they're in marshy and whatever, you want to weight it, so you can either use a weighted hook, you can use lead foil. I just use a basic lead wire. It's easy to find and it's cheap. And I just do it over the part that I want to emphasize the body curve in, just to give it a little bit more fat, and of course the weight. And then just pinch it off and make sure that all your edges are folded over. And then you're going to take a little piece of, well, it's called a variety, or it's different things like Laura lace, or it's pretty much just a really thin film that you'll use for the sort of the hard shell back. And I always cut it so it goes to a little bit of a point for its kind of its backside, so that you don't get a really bulky bum on it. And you're just gonna gently peel it off. I've heard, but I've never tried, that you can use like Ziploc bags, or the stuff you buy, the bags that you buy all your fly tying stuff in, that you can use that too. I don't know about its durability or how much it stretches and that kind of thing, so I'm just using a really basic green translucent Larva lace that I picked up at the store. And then you're just gonna tie it in and move your thread all the way forward as it covers the lead too. And I've got a bubble for some reason, but most of that, I mean, it doesn't have to be pretty, it's going to be covered by dubbing anyway. So, and then you want a piece of flash, and I like some of the crinkle mirror flash. It just picks up whatever color you're tying it in anyway. So you can use it on green, you can use it on yellow, you can use it on whatever, and it's nice for a variety of different flies. And again, I tie this one in nice and close to the front and move to the back where we're going to throw a dubbing loop. So now that you have your dubbing loop all prepared, you can see mine's not perfectly even. It definitely has some lumps in it, which is fine because it's all going to come out as legs anyway. And then you just want to start twisting it on. And just hold this your back thread in place, so that it'll still go straight over top. The more it moves, the harder it's going to be to manage. Sort of like the problems I'm having with my thread right now, getting in the way. If you have a nice vise, some of them have springs on the back where you can kind of hook them, or they have bobbin holder coming out where you can place it while you're doing this stuff. Or if you have a rotary vise, you can just spin the vise instead of spinning this stuff. This is a basic vise you'll get in most fly tying kits, and it works most of the time. It is a little, presents some interesting challenges though, like getting tangled. And then you want to get it fairly close to the head and just keep brushing back or pulling off any of the dubbing that you feel is maybe a little bit too much, especially as you get closer, because you want your thread to be on there nice and tight. And then you just want to tie it off. And you can build up your head a little bit so that it's kind of evenish with the body. my thread moves like it just did, so I throw a couple half-hitch knots to prevent it from doing that. And then just trim off all the extra. Make sure you don't catch your own thread in there. And then with your fingers, or if you have a dubbing comb, you can just work this loose stuff to the bottom. And then you're going to pull over your shell back, which I had it wrong. It's not larva lace, it's thin skin transparent material that I'm using right now. And then throw a nice, a little bit of a looser first wrap so that you can pull it tight and adjust it till you get it where you want. And then tie it down fairly tight. Now this stuff breaks really nicely compared to trimming. Before I do that, I'm going to throw a half-hitch notch over it so that it's just extra secure. And then you can just hold it, pull it tight, break it off, nice and clean. And the flash is what you're going to use to do the body sections of it. And this is the important part of the scud, so that it looks like it's a vertebrate. Now the flash is really fragile for doing this, which is why lots of people use like gold ribbing or more sturdy materials. I like the flash. It holds the colors, and as long as you're careful with it and don't pull too hard, you're going to be okay. And I mean, it's one of those standards in your toolbox. That's what, in your fly box. That's what I really like about the scud. Most of this you should have anyway for other flies. And just keep working it around in even sections. This is again where rotary vise comes in extra handy. And just work the hair as you go along so that you have some semblance of legs. And I do a couple of wraps closer to the head. And then just tie that in there nice and good. You want it all nice and secure. Try not to get too close to the eye like I just did. And I throw a knot so that a couple knots so I don't lose my flash before I trim it. And then you're just going to finish the head like you would normal with any other fly. Okay, so the video cut out on me there, and I finished it, but we'll just keep going. Once you have your head in, you're going to use cement or nail polish. I use nail polish, that's all I've got, just to secure your knots in place. And then with your handy bodkin, just pull out some of your extra dubbing. This is why we had it on really thick and why you don't necessarily want it super tight, so that you can pull it out and so that you get these legs. So it should be from the tip of your hook to the eye on an angle. It should only be about that long, so you might have to trim it. If you do trim it, you're going to lose a little bit of the natural look. So you definitely, depending on how good you are with dubbing, sometimes you don't really need to trim, but this one I did. And if you don't pull it out, you're going to get a scud that just looks more like a worm. I don't know if you can see it there. And then this one is the one with the legs. Definitely a big hairy mess. In the water it's going to look a little bit different. And that's kind of what you want.